To record. Hello guys, hello YouTube. Today I'm giving you one of the biggest hacks on how to make your first $1,000,000 with the stock market. Pretty much how to escape the rat race. This is one of the biggest hacks out there, how to do it fast through investing in the stock market. So you know how usually investing in the stock market until the compounding returns until the heavy compounding starts really to kick in your favor, it's gonna take years. I'm probably after 7, 8, 9, 10 years when that compounding interest really starts to hit. So this is kind of like a hack or how to avoid that the best way possible. How to cut the timeline as short as possible without having to go through those first 7, 8, 10, 12 miserable years until you start to make the big bucks, the real money. So here's a scenario. I have written this down because I'm terrible at editing. I can't edit for shit. I don't want to curse, but yes. So what you're seeing here is if you invest $950, let's say for 5 years, and you get an average return per year about 18%. In about 5 years, your end balance is gonna be $88,000 or euros, whatever. Now, how do we skip through that? Why did I even choose this number of 950? Well, what you're gonna want to do is instead of investing, let's say 950 every month, what you're gonna want to do is take a personal loan from the bank. This is how you use the banks to your advantage. So you take a $50,000 loan from the bank, all for yourself. So scenario 2, with that loan, by the way, your monthly payments is going to be somewhere around $950 every month. And instead of every month from your check, from your salary, investing $950 a month, you just take out a loan of $50,000 and you pay for 5 years $950 payments to the bank instead of to the stock market. And with that $50,000, you invest them all at once at the start, or within 2-3 months you invest them. So that was the first scenario. You could do that. Instead of taking out a loan, you can invest $950 every month, get your about 18%, which you can get 18% return a year if you're spending at least 40-50 minutes a day trying to learn investing and how the stock market and how everything goes. So you end up at around 88,000. But, and there is a but, if you use your loan and take out a $50,000 loan, so instead of investing $950, once again you pay that to the bank, you get $50,000 in advance and invest that. Let me actually make sure I have my math correct. Yeah, that is right. I just draw multiple things. But this is your scenario 1. You invest $950. Now, moving on. I'm already taking too long. Second scenario, you take out a loan from the bank and you pay $950 to the bank every month instead of investing it. They give you $50,000 in cash to invest. So, this would be your second scenario, right? You invest them at the start, you get the same 18% per year, and at the end, you're left with, after 5 years, with around, I believe, 115,000, if my math is correct. So nothing changed, but you just invested all the money up front instead of investing $950 every month. You just invested all the money up front. And at the end, you get about 115,000. Yeah, that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So instead of, my point is, you get much more money in the end instead of investing a certain amount every month into the stock market. What you do is you send that money to the bank as payments every month, and in exchange they give you a loan. So you invest the whole loan up front, which is about $50,000, and at the end you end up with around 25,000-30,000 more. Now that's very key at the start. That's a big difference. And keep in mind, these numbers are just to make a case, make a point. But you can manipulate them a lot. You can have bigger loans. You can have a loan and still invest. But this is just like a basic scenario just to show you the idea. Now, here's what you do. This is what we have here. Back to my final point, scenario 2, part 2. So, after, let me put this on the screen back up again. So, let me cover this. After your 5 years, you get your $115,000. Your loan is paid off. This is what you have in the stock market, invested. Now you get another loan, a second loan, which could be much bigger. There is a ways to get much bigger loans if you use your portfolio as collateral. But let's just run a basic case just to show you the math. You have your $150,000. You take out a second loan, $50,000. So now you have invested $165,000. And what happens is through the next 5 years, keep in mind after the second 5 years go by, now you're 10 years in. So now with your second 5 years, you are looking with 18% on average returns. Let me make this focus. With 18% returns, you would be getting around, I believe, let's see, $380,000 after 10 years. $380,000. Now, if you invest higher amounts, if you're smarter with this, if you really try, this could end up being $1 million very easy. But let's say you end up with only $380,000. The thing is, now let's say you want to quit the game, quit the job, quit your job or whatever, and just live your life. Check this. If you keep getting 18% off of your 30 out of your 380K would be somewhere around 450. Yes, that is correct, which is 70,000 more. Depending on what state you live, you get 70,000. I mean, yeah, 70K more, pretty much so. That's good enough just for you to live off of. That's good enough just for you to live off of. And then you go from there. But you get the idea. This is not for beginners, but if you already have some experience in the markets, a few years, instead of investing every month a certain amount, it pays much more. I mean, it's much more profitable. You end up with much more money. Instead of investing every month, just take out a huge pile of cash from the bank. Now you send that money to the bank instead of the stock market. And you invest that huge pile of money at the stock market at once. And the returns are much, much bigger. Now, let me just one more time get back to my two scenarios. So, with your scenario 1, you invest every month into the stock market, you would be getting, let me try again. You'd be getting 88,000. If you invest a huge pile of cash from the bank at once and get a loan just to invest, you would be getting at the end of 5 years in this scenario that we ran, you'll be getting 115 versus 88, which is about 27. You can even make it a 30, just a good number to round it up. $30,000 more. Now, in your first 5, 6, 7 years, you might think that's a noticeable difference, but it's not that much. But in your first few years, if you can just get those $30,000 more, as your interest compounds over and over years, those $30,000 are going to be a lot of money over the years as time goes on, and they'll make a huge difference. You know how there's that line that people use, that chart about compounding interest, and it goes, I'm going to see it like this, and it slowly goes up, and it finishes like this. So if you start in your first few years with $30,000 more, or whatever the amount is for you, depends on your loan and your monthly investments, it might seem like not a lot compared to your first amount, but by the time you reach your year 15 or 20, those $30,000 would matter a lot. And keep in mind that it's not just $30,000 at the end of your first 5 years. Then with your second 5 years, you have another $30,000 and another $30,000. And at the end, that after 18, 20 some years, the difference ends up being millions. So when you're starting, you want to get as much advantage, all the cash you can, to invest as much money as possible at the start, so it can give you a huge advantage over time. But yeah, we're already 10 minutes deep into this video. You got my point out. Do your research on this idea and just do it. All right, that's about it for me. Bye. I'm pressing stop.